you don't think this crowd wants to slow down? At least understands the need to stop, or at least to
you know,
pause?
how many people do you know who have said, I'm going away for a week and I'm not once looking at my email? And then like day 2, they've just crumbled and they're at the local cyber cafe. It seems like an interesting idea to slow down. It seems like it might make sense. But then the moment you do it, it's like, get me out of here. And I don't know if we can slow down. There's the Atlantic magazine did that article, is Google making us stupider? Well, of course we're getting stupider by the day. We know more, but we're contextualizing less. We're getting things faster, but we're more disposable with them. We don't hang on to them. And what I think is changing them most, and I think this is the core of certainly this book, and a lot of things I'm seeing right now, it is this enforced reassessment, and not necessarily a flattering reassessment, that the things that we do in our life and the order that they occur no longer somehow constitute a story, or they're no longer a narrative. It's just these things that happen to a living organism on this rock that was orbiting a Class C sun way out in the Netherlands of the galaxy. And that's kind of horrifying. But again, maybe that's self-flattery, that, you know, life has to be a story. Maybe these new young people, I can't believe I said that term.
Damn them.
Yeah,
Damn them.
But you know, they never grew up with books. They never grew up with a sense of hyper-individuality that you get from the book, that sense of interiority. And, you know, and a story, well, maybe they think it's more important they get hits or have more friends on my page or whatever. And then who's to say that's right or wrong? Denis Arcand said, the only thing that history remembers is numbers, numbers, and numbers. And there's sort of a sick truth to that.
This from a man who in this book describes the effect his PDA, a personal digital assistant, has upon his brain. You describe your brain as feeling like Chernobyl, or one of the characters. The brain is like Chernobyl with helicopters whirling around.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Despite that.
Speaking of Chernobyl, I was on the internet the other day, and someone said, go look at this. Click, and it's Google Maps over Chernobyl. And like, oh, I'd never thought of looking there before. And sure enough, there it is. And then it's annotated, so you can see the radiation dumbbell that goes off towards Kiev. And you go to something else and like, wow, I just looked at Chernobyl from outer space. And I took it for granted. That's really kind of awesome in a way. And everyone thinks I'm a cheerleader for technology. I'm not. I am a cheerleader for the present tense, that where we are. Okay, Karl Lagerfeld wrote on Twitter back in June, the moment you start blaming the times you live in means your time's over. The times we live in, it's amazing. And don't look at the uncommon things, look at really common things and figure out what it is you're just not seeing in them. And I'm not saying everything that technology does is good, but we are very close to it still. And, you know, was the telephone good for society? Yes. You know, radio, TV, yeah. But it took a long time to get to the point where you could say that without qualification. Quick question for you, and there's no answer. Which do you think was more cathartic for society? The introduction of television or the introduction of the internet?
Was more cathartic?
Yeah.
I think the internet.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And even a few months ago, no, even if
what the hell does that mean?
You know what it means? It means that if you'd asked that question even 4 or 5 months ago, you might have gotten a maybe, but now people don't hesitate when you answer that question. And there's no answer, but I have a hunch that it is the internet.
I would have thought that there's self-expression involved in the internet is by definition cathartic, whereas watching TV, half the time you're getting, well, it's anti-cathartic.
Okay, one of the most interesting nouns to emerge out of the last year or two is snark. And snark is that stuff. Oh, sorry, is it not working?
There, go.
Is that better? Oh dear.
Oh.
Okay.
Snort.
I feel like I'm on an infomercial here with the microphone. I've never
sell,
done that.
sell, baby.
Okay. One of the most interesting nouns that has emerged over the last year or two is called snark. And snark is the stuff that people write at the end of a news story, where they sort of, the peanut gallery, my 2 cents, etc. And it has revolutionized news and news reporting, obviously. But it's just indicative of yet another newer form that proves that we're in a way we are in a golden age of letters. Is that you have people who previously, if you gave them a typewriter and paper and said, write a letter to so-and-so, there would be this sort of stilted, strange, and impersonal, robotic voice that would have emerged. And now, with email and now with blogging, etc., there is a real, wonderful, creative ability of the individual to articulate themselves in a way that has probably never happened before. And of course, the dark side of that is everyone cancels everyone out, and you're still left with a nation of possibly not individuals.
Mm-hmm. And a nation of sameness. I mean, this notion that 95% of the material on the internet, for instance, is the same 5% of human experience, repeated and blogged and inserted and embedded and sent off over and over and over again. Which means, that, of course, that 95% of human experience is untouched, despite the fact that we live in a renaissance.
I would agree, yeah.
I'm supposed to be asking the questions here.
No, I agree. Sorry. What's happening? Google. Who'd have thought that would be the word that defined the century? What they've done now, you were asking about the Marshall McLuhan book earlier, mentioning it. I was doing footnotes. It's done now, it's put to bed. And I was doing the footnotes, and I was looking up the name of Marshall's maternal grandfather, Herbert Selden Hall, I believe. And blink, Google Books, search result. And they'd flipped a switch, and it's the strangest thing. They've taken 7 million out of print books, and the ethics of which I don't even want to go near for this discussion. And they've scanned them, and it looks like a photocopy, but the scanning actually reads the alphanumeric characters, turns them into searchable ASCII characters. And so suddenly all these books that were dead are now alive. And then in a publishing world, it's like, well, should they be doing it? Should they not be doing it? And someone said, well, look, in 2 years, Radio Shack, or whatever it's called now, is going to have some plug-in that, you hold it up to your tattoo, it reads your tattoo, your homework, your lunch, your menu, whatever, and that everything is not going to be 95% anymore. It's going to be 99.999999999, and that after that, there's this new ambient translation program that's coming out, not just at Google, and you leave it open on your desk all day, and if it hears something that sounds like a word, it turns it into a digital form, which goes into the permanent record forever. So that if someone had it on here, for example, tonight's experience will be on the permanent record forever, as well as a poster they saw downstairs, as well as something they saw on a billboard, and it's spooky.